You've probably seen this in old Western movies. Someone gets tossed through a window or a bottle gets broken over their head and they walk away. That should be dangerous. So, why doesn't it work that way? Well, glass isn't one material, and what makes something a glass isn't its ingredients, it's a structure. And once you understand that, it raises a much more interesting question. Could something like sugar behave like a glass? Hey, I'm Abby, a doctor of food science. And on this channel, we look at food a little differently, breaking it down into its molecules and microscopic structures that you can't see, but absolutely do affect you. And today, we're making glasses. Not the kind you wear, like we're gonna make an edible glass. And for this, I'm going to show you how to force sugar molecules into the glassy state. The recipe is super simple. You just need sucrose, well, I guess normal people call that table sugar, and corn syrup. Now, the most important thing about these ingredients is the ratio. So I want about 70% sucrose to 30% corn syrup. And then I'll add maybe just enough water to dissolve everything. The water is really temporary, so I'm not very concerned. Its job is really to just dissolve the sugars and then make it into a syrup, but I'm gonna boil most of it off. The reason we're using corn syrup has nothing to do with sweetness. We're actually using it to introduce two new and different sugar molecules, mostly glucose and fructose, which means that corn syrup is going to act like a doctoring agent. Basically, it sort of interferes with the sucrose molecules to inhibit them from lining up and forming a crystalline lattice. Now, I know this seems like super random knowledge how to do this, but if we look at my candy binder from undergrad, I vividly remember this week because this was the first week of confectionery science class, and we had to write literally a terrible, super long lab report on candy glasses. Now, the structure of the glass also depends on how we process the sugar. And because I'm just making this at home, it's simply, how do we heat it and cool it? Now I want to cook the syrup until about 285 degrees Fahrenheit. And this final cook temperature in candy making is so important because it dictates the final water content of the candy, which impacts the texture. And candy makers even have special names or stages for the final cook temperatures like thread, soft ball, firm ball, hard ball, and hard crack. Now, for sugar glass, you might have guessed this, we're gonna go pretty high. We're almost gonna go to the hard crack stage. The only reason I'm not going to the hard crack stage is I'm a little worried about browning. And if you enjoy understanding how techniques like this actually work, I want to introduce you to our sponsor of this video, Craftsy. Craftsy is an online community of creative, like-minded makers. It's your online resource for all things creative. Since I'm in full candy making mode right now, I'm exploring some of Craftsy's candy making classes, like modern handcrafted candy and the art of caramel. They also have chocolate-focused classes like homemade chocolate candy and a Jacques Torres class on building a box of chocolates. Craftsy offers over 2,000 classes on some of my favorite topics like baking, cake decorating, cooking. As a member, you get unlimited access to thousands of classes and live streaming tutorials where instructors engage in the Craftsy community in real time. The first 1,000 people watching my video who use the link will get a premium membership to Craftsy for only $1.49. This applies to new members only. You can join Craftsy using the link in the description or scan the QR code on your screen. And now let's get the syrup to 285 degrees. This is when the syrup has gotten super concentrated, which means it's very viscous or very thick, and molecular movement has really slowed to a halt. I just mean that the sugar molecules can barely move past each other anymore. They're really crowded and sluggish, almost stuck in place. As long as we cool this quickly, and this is very critical, we should be able to make a sugar glass. We're actually going to do this just by pouring the super stinking hot candy syrup onto my silicone candy mat, which is at room temperature. Because of this big difference in temperature, this will give us a quick cooling rate, which is exactly what we need to make a glass. As the temperature drops, the sugar molecules are going to quickly lose the ability to move past one another. they don't have time to slide into a pattern to form a crystal. So whatever arrangement they're in right now is what gets locked into place. We've successfully made a sugar glass and it actually does shatter just like window glass. This happens because when you apply force, the molecules can't move past one another to absorb that stress, right? There's no way for them to bend or move. You might notice this batch has a slight yellow tint, which kind of annoys me, but this is due to caramelization, so sugars like sucrose and the sugars in corn syrup at those high temperatures are going to caramelize, unfortunately. So just for some fun, I'm going to change one variable. Okay, new idea. I think if I change ingredients, I can get a totally clear glass. But for that, we need to go to my parents' basement, which is just a good reminder. If you have kids, even when they're grown up, they will never leave because this is where I store all of my ingredients. So I want to find maltitol. I have a lot of sugar alcohols, allulose, xylitol. I thought I would have maltitol. I don't think I do. I do have isomalt. I think isomalt might actually work for this. Let's give this a try. This time I'm going to use 100% isomalt with just enough water to form a syrup. Isomalt is a mixture of polyols, so these molecules are sweet like sugars, but when heated they behave quite differently because they're not a sugar. Unlike sucrose, it's much more resistant to browning even at those high temperatures, which has me hoping this will stay totally clear. The process itself doesn't change, so we're still going to boil that water off till 285 degrees Fahrenheit, concentrating the sugar, making it very viscous. And then again, we just want to cool it quickly to lock that structure into place. So same process, but different molecule, which is why we get this nice, clear, transparent glass, which is exactly what I was hoping for. There is one key trade-off though. Isomalt and any other polyols, our body doesn't absorb these molecules well, so it can lead to a laxative effect. So you don't want to eat too much of these ingredients. And that's why isomalt is mostly used for decorations and demonstrations. If you enjoyed this candy science, next I would check out my video where I break down the molecular gastronomy of candy canes.